Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie if you're new here, and today I'm super excited to share with you my nail polish awards for 2022. So I thought this would be a super fun video to make because it's honestly just me getting to talk more about my favorite and not so favorite releases over the past year, along with some honorable mentions because there have just been so many amazing collections that have come out. But yeah, I have a couple of categories and I'm mainly going to be reviewing brands that I have shared on my channel already, just to kind of keep things simple, but you know, there's no real awards that anyone's actually winning, but I still hope that you all participate in the comments down below and let me know who you think should win for each category. I just think it would be so fun to see that and talk about that. But without further ado, let's just get started. So the first category that I have is Nailed the Theme. And I feel like this is pretty self-explanatory, but I'm basically thinking of collections that consist of perfectly named polishes with finishes that really stay true to the inspiration of the name of the collection. So I'll give you a minute to just kind of think of, you know, whatever comes to mind first, or especially if there's a certain brand that pops into your mind, because I definitely have one. So my winner for Nailed the Theme is Mooncat's Once Upon a Fairy Tale collection. I absolutely love this one, and to be honest, like Mooncat was the first brand that I thought of for this collection, where I was like, I could really just pick any of their collections because I feel like they are so good at just coming up with these shades that again really stay true to whatever the name of the collection is. I don't know what their process is, like if they kind of, you know, have a name for the collection first, or just kind of like an idea of it and then come up with names. You know, whatever it is, it just really works. So even collections that I wasn't super crazy about, I just have to admit that they knocked it out of the park with, again, both the names and the finishes. So Once Upon a Fairy Tale for me just had to be the winner because if you don't know me, I am definitely a huge lover of anything whimsical and dreamy, and those polishes that are like fairy inspired are just so up my alley. So I definitely had to choose that collection. I really love it. So yeah, I definitely would love to know what you think of my choice, and of course, let me know what you would have picked as the winner. So these next few categories are the best of, and of course, we're going to be doing seasonal releases starting with spring. So I'll be honest, I did have to kind of go back and look at what brands released earlier in the year, but even before doing that, there was one collection that I immediately thought of, and I did end up picking it after comparing all the other ones. And so my winner for best spring collection is Olive Ab's Deluge collection. So I was so hooked when I first saw even just like the tagline for this release, which I think is a reminder that there's always sunshine after the storm. It was honestly something that I just really connected to right away, since I had just been coming out of this pretty bad depression. So I think you can tell that I'm definitely someone who looks for the silver linings, and for whatever reason, this collection was just it. I also really loved how it's just this story of spring. So across the 6 shades, there are some dark and moody polishes, you know, that kind of represent the rain and the storms and all of that. But then it transitions into the lighter, you know, more hopeful new growth that you see in spring. So it just is such a beautiful story within this collection that I think just can resonate with so many people. And I know, I mean, it's just nail polish, right? But it's just a special, special collection to me. It was also my very first swatch and review and video in general on my YouTube channel. So there is also just like that kind of, you know, special emotional attachment to that collection. But even besides all of that, I think that collection is just absolutely stunning with the color story. And of course, all of that has like amazing formulas. So I just can't even recommend them enough, regardless of the sap story that's attached to it. But yeah, I definitely think they deserve the win. So for honorable mentions, I definitely want to include Mooncat's Technicolor Dreams collection. This one was super close to winning because, I mean, obviously I'm going to be obsessed with this kind of lineup, but it's still hard to recommend when they are really expensive. So, you know, there's just like, there's definitely some back and forth, and it just wasn't enough for me to choose them as my winner, but definitely deserves an honorable mention because, again, that collection is just so gorgeous. And if you happen to have $100 to just spend on nail polish and you have thinner on hand and also are planning to use them in nail art, I definitely can't recommend them enough. But otherwise, you know, maybe look for some dupes. I also want to mention Orly's Impressions collection, which was obviously inspired by the Impressionist era. So I really loved that Orly was inspired by art styles for a couple of their collections this year. And it was just really cool to see. I mean, I have like an artistic background. I went to school for graphic design and studied art history, blah, blah, blah. So it was just, you know, a fun and exciting kind of thing to see being represented by nail polish brands, especially a big one like Orly. But they just get the honorable mention and not the win because it still was a pretty basic color palette. Even though I'm obviously a big fan of pastels in the spring, these were just kind of more easily duped, I guess, and weren't such a standout collection overall, but I still really, really enjoyed them. So they get an honorable mention too. Next up, we have Best Summer Collection. And oh my gosh, this one was so tough for me. But if you are familiar with my channel or even my video titles, maybe you already have an idea of what I picked. But my winner for Best Summer Collection goes to Island Peas Splashed Collection. I really love this one so, so much. If you don't know, I probably already mentioned this, that I'm such a sucker for a good promo photo. And when I first saw this one, I was just so, so excited for it. I also really love wearing jellies in the summer, and these had these little like silver hollow micro flakies in them. So they were just so sparkly and juicy and bright and just so, so perfect for this season. Like, I really loved wearing them, especially when I'm going to the pool or whatever. It just was such a fun collection. I also really love like a rainbow lineup. And even though these aren't a complete rainbow, I still did a cute little rainbow nail art with them. And I was just so obsessed. Like, it was like one of my favorite looks that I did this whole year. So they definitely take the win for that one. Honorable mentions, I had to include Mooncat's Kaleidoscope Haze because oh my gosh, this was just one of my favorite Mooncat releases this whole year. This one gets the honorable mention and not the win because, as we all know, Mooncat just releases things on their own time. They don't really do seasonal releases or anything, but I feel like if this had just come out a few months earlier, it could have easily been marketed as a summer collection and it just would have taken the win so easy because, I mean, it's jellies, they have flakies in them, and it's like a perfect rainbow lineup. I also wanted to give an honorable mention to Dimension Nails Great Barrier Reef collection, which was this stunning lineup of neon creams. So I did end up grabbing a couple of the polishes and reviewed them on my channel, and they were just so perfect, like literally just the most perfect neons for summer. And they had great formulas. I was obsessed with the color palettes and everything. My only kind of gripe, I guess, was that unfortunately this collection was delayed. So again, I just didn't have enough time to really enjoy them, but I just can't recommend Dimension Nails enough. I really feel like they offer some of the best creams on the market for an indie brand. So go check them out if you haven't already, and you definitely won't be disappointed. Next up, we have Best Fall Collection, and I feel like this was definitely the easiest one for me to choose, and I'm pretty sure we're all on the same page here, right? But my winner for Best Fall Collection goes to Island Pea's Harvest Collection. This one was just so absolutely stunning that I think everybody was just excited for these. And even though I still do think Hayride and Pumpkin Patch are a little too similar to each other, I honestly can't just choose one and not have the other one as part of the collection. So they're just all needed, even if they are like a little too similar. I just feel like this was just one of the best, most beautiful collections to have come out this fall, maybe even like this whole year, honestly. But yeah, I definitely would love to know if you agree with that, or if there is another collection that you would choose over Harvest, because this one again was pretty easy for me. A few of them made it into my fall favorites video, and I've worn a couple of them as like a full manicure. I've worn them as a Skittle. I've worn them in gradient nail art. So I definitely got a lot of use out of them. So they definitely deserve the win in my book. My honorable mention goes to Painted Polish's Keep Calm and Fall On collection. This one was just so beautiful. It consisted of 6 glittery jelly formulas that were so stunning, and it was in this like rainbow, but like a fall palette. Oh, so gorgeous. The only reason that I didn't really choose them to be the winner, I know this is going to be kind of trivial, but they just photographed weird for me, where they have reflective glitters in them, and as you know, reflectives really show up and like look all crazy under a flash, but these for whatever reason just looked so different than the photos that I saw on the Instagram, the website, whatever it was. They just looked weird even compared to how I was seeing them in real life. So I don't know, it just kind of was weird to me, and I didn't really like that. So if it wasn't for that, then they probably would have been my winner. It's really hard to say because again, Island Pea's Harvest was like amazing, but a fall rainbow palette, oh my gosh, that really gets me. So yeah, maybe if these did not have the reflective glitters in them and they were just regular glitters, they still would have looked just as beautiful. I mean, obviously I still think this whole collection is stunning anyway, but yeah, definitely curious what you think of these two. My second honorable mention goes to Olive Ab's Pigment collection, which was such a beautiful fall collection. I already said this in the spring category that Walker just releases such amazing color stories and just the most perfect seasonal releases. So I really love this one, and you know, again, the formulas were amazing, the colors are beautiful, the brushes are perfect, but the only reason that again it didn't really get the spot for the winner and just an honorable mention is that I feel like some of the colors were dupable, so they just weren't, you know, super unique, I guess, in that sense, but I still just cannot recommend them enough because they are, that collection is absolutely gorgeous. Lastly, we have Best Winter Collection, and this one was also a little hard because it was the most recent, so there's going to be some recency bias there and that I tried to be mindful of, but there was still one collection that I just could not get out of my mind. And I feel like, you know, this might be crazy, maybe controversial, I don't know. I'm kind of not sure how you all react to this, but I had to go with Island P again for their Winter Wonderland collection. Now, I know this is the third Island P win. That's literally 3 out of 4 for the best seasonal collection that they have won. And I stand by it, okay? I just have loved what they have been coming out with. And I've just been such a big fan. Like, the collections have just been so perfect. And it just was so beautiful to see this like lineup of, I guess, basic winter colors, but making them so much more exciting with these absolutely stunning formulas. I really loved both of the magnetics in that collection. I mean, they made it into my winter favorites video. The Hollow Evermore, insane, absolutely insane. Like, that is the strongest hollow in my collection probably. So beautiful. The metallic flakies are also incredibly stunning, and even the white shimmery frosty flaky polish, it's just like such a perfect delicate like kiss of snow kind of shade. If you want, you know, something neutral for the season, that's like the perfect one. So I'm definitely excited to hear what you all think about me choosing 3 Island P winners for the best seasonal collections. And I guess the fact that they also release 2 collections per season kind of gives them like a leg up in that race. But I don't know. I mean, I just have been really loving what they've been coming out with, especially like in the last couple of months, obviously. So definitely let me know any and all thoughts that you have about that down below. So for honorable mentions, I have KB Shimmer's Northern Exposure collection, which I'm actually really excited to be reviewing in the next couple of weeks. I really love that collection. I mean, just the inspiration behind it and seeing like how, again, like the polishes just match that inspiration. It's just so satisfying to me. And I just really love the variety in that collection. There's like a ton of reflective glitters, which I know not everyone loves. Like, it's kind of like you either love it or hate it. So I'm in the love it boat. So I, again, really am excited about those. But there's also a couple of magnetics. They also came out with like a zigzag magnetic wand, which looks so cool because it looks like the Northern Lights, and it's just so beautiful. And they also have like a couple of, I think, like multi-chrome kind of polishes in there. So it's just this really stunning lineup of different shades, different formulas, where it's kind of like something for everyone. So I just couldn't really choose it as my winner because I didn't love every single shade in the collection, but I definitely think there are a ton of stunning shades in there for sure. So I'm really excited to get that up for you and share my thoughts on that one in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for that. So the next category that I have is most disappointing collection. And this is probably the most controversial that I'll get for this awards video. Mainly because I can't really think of a collection that I just outright hated, but I certainly have been disappointed by some collections, and I'm sure you have as well. So I really am looking forward to your comments, especially about this category. And maybe you're thinking that I'm going to mention Olive Ave's Rock Solid collection, which I recently reviewed and shared that I wasn't that excited for. Or maybe you remember how I felt about OPI's Fall Wonders collection, which just totally missed the mark for me as a fall release. But there was one other collection even before those that I don't think I'll ever recover from. So the winner of the most disappointing collection, unfortunately, goes to Cirque's Fantastical collection. I try to forget, you know? I feel bad saying that because I really do love Cirque as a brand and I love a lot of their polishes, but, you know, honestly, like, it consisted of these thermal polishes and one flaky topper, which is honestly like the saving grace, and a really beautiful topper. If you don't have one like it, then, you know, that one's great, but let's pretend, you know, that one's not included because there's no issue with that one. The thermals, I guess, you know, to be totally fair, I'm not really the biggest fan of thermal polishes to begin with. I don't like that they have a shorter shelf life and, you know, you run the risk of them just not transitioning anymore. So it's hard to, you know, really recommend them. And especially with Cirque like increasing their prices and all of that, I think they increased them with this collection. So it just is hard to recommend it for that reason. But even if I was a fan of thermals, I still would be let down by this collection because of the formulas where they just had these like unbroken like pigment specks in them. And it's just so frustrating. From Cirque, I expected so much better. And again, like the theme of the collection, you know, being all like groovy and funky and fun. Like I love the concept, but it was like the execution that just really put a bad taste in my mouth. So for the honorable mention, it goes to Cirque as well for their bubbly collection, which I actually think came out before their Fantastical release. I'm not sure if the timeline matters at all, but it definitely was extra disappointing to have two back-to-back collections that just let me down, you know? So for this bubbly collection, it was, I think, 6 polishes that were this jelly magnetic formula, but it was a new formula because they also had this inclusion of linear holographic effect to it. And so in theory, you know, I was like, oh, that sounds so cool. Like, you know, we haven't really seen that before. Like the colors are cute, you know, whatever, it's fun. There's no holo. There's no holo. All the swatches that I've seen, it's like there's nothing there. And if it is there, it's just so subtle that it's, again, just like disappointing because, you know, you're paying a lot of money for a polish that you're mainly getting because it's magnetic, but then it's like also this fun thing because there's holo in there, but then the holo doesn't show up. And the most egregious thing about this collection was how they marketed the photos, the swatch photos, because of how blatantly photoshopped they were. This can be like its own separate video, but it was just so insane, like night and day, to see the swatch photo from the swatcher, right, posted on her own account, compared to the swatch photo that was on their website. Just night and day difference. And I was like, this is like false advertising, because the rainbow that is there on the website photos, like that's not what you get. And I was just disappointed. I was severely disappointed by that. It was honestly really hard to choose between those two Cirque collections because they both were like really disappointing for me, because again, I really like Cirque as a brand, but just like these two were such letdowns for me. So I just expected better from them, you know what I mean? So yeah, they get an honorable mention for that. So my last category is best collaboration, and that's pretty self-explanatory. I am obviously thinking of a collaboration between a nail polish brand and really anyone or anything else, whether it's another creator or a food brand or a piece of media. I do have some fun ones that I will be talking about in my honorable mentions, but for my winner, I actually have to put a little bit of a trigger warning for DV. So feel free to skip ahead if you don't want to hear anything about this. I totally understand. I recently learned about this collaboration between the indie brand Damn Nail Polish and a few people from the nail community who are survivors of DV. I follow Kelsey from Nail Bastion on Instagram, and that's where I saw her post about her collaboration shade, and I got to read her story, and it really touched my heart in like such a deeply profound way that I don't really have the right words for, but I just thought it was so amazing to see that from Damn Nail Polish, you know, because her polish was released as part of a trio, and on the website it looks like there was a previously released trio, so I'm not exactly sure how often or ongoing this collaboration is, but I still think it's just such an amazing way to celebrate survivors. The other amazing thing is that a portion of the proceeds for the polishes in the Survivor series go to two separate charities that also help survivors of DV. So it's just all around an amazing collaboration, and just one that, you know, really means a lot to me. I love when like brands care about that and really put in an effort to support victims and survivors, and to make people aware of these issues. So yeah, this was just really amazing collaboration. Even though it is, you know, obviously a bit of a heavier one, I still just, I couldn't not choose this as my winner. So big kudos to Damn Nail Polish and everybody who has collaborated with them as a part of their Survivor series, because they absolutely deserve that win. Now onto my honorable mentions. The first one that came to mind was the Orly and Lisa Frank collab, which I think came out sometime in the summer, which was so perfect because it was just these like rainbow glitter bombs, and they were so fun. Unfortunately, did not get any of these polishes because, or well, they're glitter toppers, and I feel like I just don't wear them enough, so I just couldn't justify getting them, even though they are absolutely like so fun and so iconic. And my last honorable mention goes to Mooncat and their collaboration with Hocus Pocus 2. They really took the saying "go big or go home" so seriously. Like, they set the bar so high to the point where I'm just like, are they ever gonna collab with anyone again? Because it just, I mean, oh my gosh, can you imagine Mooncat and Wednesday? That is so perfect, right? Like, fingers crossed we'll see that in the future. But I do love seeing brands do collaborations with another brand or media or whatever it is that is very much aligned with the brand. So Mooncat and Hocus Pocus are just like two peas in a pod for me. The collection box was absolutely immaculate. The polishes themselves obviously were gorgeous. So it really set the bar high. I'm not holding my breath for another collaboration, especially anytime soon, but it would just be so amazing to see because of the level of the product that we got. You know what I mean? So, and especially to come out like kind of around Halloween, you know, it just was so perfect. So that definitely deserves an honorable mention. So that wraps up my nail polish awards for 2022. So I really hope you had a fun time watching this video, or as much fun as I had putting this all together, because I just really enjoyed going back and looking at all the collections that were released this year, at least from like the number of brands that I mentioned in this video, because obviously there's a ton that I did not even mention, but can't wait to read the comments and see if you agree with me on the winners that I chose, or to see which ones you think should have won instead. Leave me any and all thoughts that you have down below so we can chat about it like always. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day and a happy New Year's, and I'll see you in the next one in 2023. Bye.